Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw. Today I'm reviewing one of my most anticipated albums of 2014, and of course, it is the 6th studio album from Mastodon entitled Once More Round the Sun. Let's just start talking about this album. So after High Road, the single that came out a little while ago, I didn't listen to anything else that the band decided to put out for basically the upcoming album itself. I wanted to hear the entire album. I didn't want to spoil anything else. I just wanted to hear the whole entire release, but I wanted to hear High Road to kind of get an understanding of where some of the writing process and some of the ideas that could possibly be within this album and get kind of an idea what this whole album could be. I knew for a fact that High Road would not be exactly what Once More Around the Sun would be, and I was correct. Because if this album was exactly what High Road is, then this album would have no surprises. This album would be kind of bland because we heard basically everything we needed to hear within the first single, and I'm glad that they didn't give too much away with the first single. Let's just start jumping to the actual track itself, and I want to give you some of my highlights because this is one of those things where I have to start talking about the music. Now, real quick, I do want to mention the actual artwork itself, the actual album artwork, which I rarely ever talk about in my reviews, but it is very unique. It's a very colorful looking beast, and the band has been quoted by saying that the music is a representation of this artwork, where it's a being from another planet, and their whole idea is that their music is going to take you to another planet and take you to new areas. And so that was kind of the idea of the artwork, and kind of what the music for this album was supposed to be, the musical form of this artwork. And so if you haven't seen the artwork for this album yet, you need to check it out, and you'll be kind of like going, what? Because, you know, it's very unique, but it does stand out, and it's pretty cool and interesting and colorful. Anyways, let's go through some of my favorite tracks, and we'll talk a little bit more about why I like these songs and all of that, and basically my thoughts on this album before we get to the actual track listing itself. Tread Lightly, the first track, has this very eerie Western type acoustic intro, acoustic guitar, and then it jumps into the actual band coming in. It was kind of a build-up as the acoustic guitar is kind of Western sound, it's kind of soft, and then bam, the band slams in, and it's a very epic track. It kind of opens this album in a very epic way, and I love the riffage. There was a lot of great guitar parts, a lot of great drum parts, and the vocals, as always, throughout this whole entire release, the vocals are a very, very high point throughout this album. Vocals and lyrical content is very high within this album. A lot of high praises for those both things because they really do stand out. So within any Mastodon record, the lyrical content and the vocals are very important, and they are one of the high points throughout the whole entire release, and once again it's here as well. But Tread Lightly starts off very strong, and it continues, in my personal opinion, through the whole entire way, a very strong album. The Motherload opens up with a very cool drum intro from Brann, and I feel like that it was a kind of a homage to earlier stuff where a drum solo would open up a song from earlier Mastodon releases, so it was kind of cool to hear that again. But Motherload, good track. Track number 3, of course, High Road. We heard that song, High Road, the first single. Great there, track number 3. Great place. It was not the very beginning of the album. It's not close to the end. It's kind of, you know, a little bit in the middle, a little ways, but it's, you know, it's starting in there from the front. So we got 2 new songs and then the single, and then we're going to continue on. Once More Around the Sun, track number 4. I think my favorite part about this song is the actual chorus itself. I love the way that they kind of throw in the title track, Once More Around the Sun, that lyrical phrase there into the chorus, and not just like in a cheesy way, just like, once more around the sun, you know, and they kind of end it. They throw it in with a bunch of other words and phrases around it to kind of make it a unique take on that. So, got to give them props there. It's a very short song, but it is a very powerful one at the same time, and it really does deliver some really cool elements and some cool lyrical content, and a great song nonetheless in a very short amount of time. So, got to give them. Now, Chimes at Midnight, which is track number 5, which is the second single that was released that I didn't listen to, and I love it. It has a lot of great dark melodies in it. I love just the song, and it made me want to, made me think, man, I should have listened to this when it came out, but then it would have spoiled it for me, because then it wouldn't have been as special as I'm just listening to the album, and then bam, we get to this very, very epic dark track, and I'm just like, whoa. So that spoilness, the part where I already know this song would have been ruined if I listened to the single as it came out. So I'm glad that I waited for the full release. Asleep in the Deep, as you can tell, most of the songs are my favorite, but Asleep in the Deep, track number 6, my favorite part is the musical elements and the vocals in the verse, not the chorus. The chorus is good, but the verse especially, and the music behind it when they're doing the verse is so just epic sounding. It's very groovy. There's a lot of melody, but it's dark at the same time, and I just love how they got the vocals, the vocal melodies, and the actual music behind it to sound very epic. That's the word I can go with. It's very hard to explain. You just gotta listen to the verse for yourself and really understand what I'm trying to talk about, because it's a very unique sound. It's one of those Mastodon type sounds that you hear, because they really throw in the actual musical melody and the actual vocal melodies and make them sound very epic, and they go right along hand in hand. Great combination. Now, track number 8, track number 7's good, but track number 8, Aunt Lisa, featuring the Coathangers, I believe that's what you call them. Aunt Lisa's a very cool track. The reason why I like it so much is because the Coathangers, I believe, as it's telling me on my cheat sheet here, is a group. I'm not really sure what type of group they are, but they're doing a chant, and it's kind of a unique thing within the Mastodon world, because for what I can remember off the top of my head, that they've not really had chants like this, and it's a very unique chant. It has the F word involved, so it's going to be interesting hearing the word fuck. But it was kind of cool to hear this chant within the song, and it kind of switched up the song, so I gotta give them that. Track number 10, Halloween, is a very cool track. Now, track number 11, I want to talk about real quick and all that good stuff. Diamond in the Witch House, which features Scott Kelly, which basically at this point, Scott Kelly has been on one song on every album since Leviathan 2004 release, so he's been on 5 albums now. So essentially, he's the 5th Mastodon vocalist in a sense when they're in the studio, because he's been on every release since Leviathan. But Diamond in the Witch House is the closing track, and what I really love about this song is that it ends this album on a very, very, very high note. But it does it in a way that you're not really expecting. It reminds me of, this is kind of a weird direction as we're going to go, Job for a Cowboy's last album. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it ended with this song that was so different from the rest of the album in a sense, but not necessarily for the Mastodon release. But they ended the Job for a Cowboy album in a very different way, a slower song. Well, with Mastodon, they end this album with a very slow song, which of course is entitled Diamond in the Witch House, and it's not necessarily slow, but there's a lot of slow elements, but they make it sound very epic. And I feel like Scott Kelly's performance alongside with the rest of the band, doing vocals and stuff like that, and him throwing in his vocals as well, really ends this album on a very high note, like I said, because it's got a lot of dark melodies, got a lot of dark riffs and some heavy riffs, and the song is not trying to impress and go crazy. The solos, of course, are great throughout this whole release, but there's some great solo work and some great guitar parts throughout the song, and it really enhances the song, and I feel like that it really made this song sound very epic, because at first, I thought it was a good song, but the more I listened to it, the more I really understood the song. It really made sense why this was the closer, because it's a long track, it's clock over, 7 minutes in length, but it has a lot of great things going for it, and it's a kind of a different way to end this album than you would expect. You expect it to end on a very fast and heavy track and going crazy, but they kind of end it in a direction where it's slow pace, but it's got some heaviness and some groove and some melody, and it's a very epic track to kind of close this epic album. Now, this album was a grower for me. At first, I liked the album, but now as I'm listening more to it, it's growing on me more every single day, every single listen. I listen to it 4 or 5 times a day at this point, and it keeps growing on me. It keeps getting better and better and better, and I listen to it with big headphones as much as I can, and the big headphones really do help out. The bass really comes out through this release, and it just really sounds mighty and epic with those big headphones. And so, if you had the opportunity to listen to the specific album, Once More Around the Sun by Mastodon, with big headphones, and you have them, listen to them, because you will not regret it. It sounds so great. Anyway, so let's go to the actual personnel itself. To talk a little bit about them, their actual performance, and what they sound like on the album. Let's talk about the actual bass guitar first, get that away because we're going to go in order as it's listed on the personnel here. Troy on bass guitar and vocals, all vocals themselves, so Troy, Brent, Brann, and Bill all on vocals. They all sound great. The lyrical content is great as well. The one thing I want to mention is, especially on the last track, which I'll have to go back to real quick, Diamond in the Witch House, But in general, the lyrical content, especially for that last track and throughout this whole entire album, are very high points. The lyrical content is very powerful, it's unique, and you really get to hear some interesting points and some interesting phrases from this album. And so I would really recommend to really listen to the lyrical content and to look it up and to just read along as they're going along in the song, because there's some very interesting phrases you might miss if you're not really paying attention too much. So listen to that. But anyway, Troy on bass guitar. Like I said, those big headphones, I can hear the bass come through extremely loud, and even without the mighty headphones, I could hear the bass very clearly, and it just sounds epic and mighty. And mighty, I love saying that word. But the bass sounds very good. It fits right along, and it really does enhance these songs and brings a very heavy aspect to a lot of these tracks. And I feel like that it's a great fit. And like I said, all the vocals from all the guys sound amazing. So what do you expect? It's Mastodon. There's a lot of great vocal melodies. You gotta listen to it. Brent and Bill. Sorry, Brann, for some reason, they're in the middle of the guitars. Brent and Bill on guitars. The rhythm playing is just insane. I love the tone they picked for this album. There was some concern about, the tone doesn't sound like Mastodon too much. But when you listen to the whole entire release, the guitar tone really does fit, and it really does enhance these songs. And I feel like the riffs are very powerful. The riffs are aggressive, they're dark, they're gloomy, they're moody, there's a lot of melody. The solos are what you'd expect. Shreddy, loud, screaming, and they really do enhance these songs and kind of takes the songs in new directions. I feel like the main points about any Mastodon record, besides the drumming, of course, when we get to Brann in a second, is the guitar playing. The guitar playing and the vocals, because those are the two main things. The guitars really do drive these songs, and the vocals do the same thing as well. So the guitars are definitely something you need to pay attention to when you listen to a Mastodon record, and especially on this album, because the guitars give you everything that you'd want from a Mastodon record. So there's something for everybody as a Mastodon fan on this album at some point, somewhere. So you just gotta listen to it. If you're a specific lover of something from Mastodon, it's within this album, you just gotta listen for it. But the guitars are great nonetheless. Brann on drums. Brann, once again, does an amazing job on the drum kit. His drums sound amazing. They're heavy. They're epic. And when he plays these drum solos and he plays these little drum fills throughout the songs, that you just get to tell that he is just improvising and also coming up with these ideas and really enhancing these sections. And kind of when the song is going from this section to this section, his drum fill is kind of leading it, and kind of and then boom, we go into something else, and so we're going to lead off into here. And so he's helping transitions. He's helping transition into sections. So I got to give him props. And his drum playing, once again, is fantastic. He's doing a great job, and I have no complaints from him or any of the guys. They all sound great. The production on this album is what you'd expect from Mastodon. It's not crystal clear and perfect. It's got some rawness to it, but at the same time, you can hear every little bits and pieces that the band is throwing in to kind of give to the listener to kind of discover and learn and hear the new things as well as you listen more and more. Because, like I said, this album's a grower, and I've found new things and discovered new things. Once More Around the Sun is probably in my top 3 favorite albums of Mastodon at this point. And like I said, it's a grower, so that it may rise up to even higher. My personal rating is going to be a 9 out of 10. But at this current time, it's a 9 out of 10. And maybe in a week or 2 weeks or so, maybe a 9.5. I don't know. But for right now, I feel great about this album. It sounds beautiful. It is beautiful. It's Mastodon. And I'm so glad this album succeeded in what they were trying to accomplish. They did some new things on this album, not too far out of the norm of Mastodon at this point. But it is a great album nonetheless, and any Mastodon fan needs to check out this album ASAP. I'm Chainsaw. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked the video, like the video. If you want to see me or my stuff, click my name or subscribe to see more. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.